Gentlemen, we're back.
Adam.
Super Bowl today. Woo!
Super Bowl Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday. Sunday fun day.
It is. Are you guys going to have a Sunday today? The D-A-E Sunday?
Probably not.
No?
Would be my guess.
Do you ever see the Simpsons episode with Jack Crowley?
No.
Voiced by Michael Keaton?
I don't think so.
The one where he's like an artist in prison and then Marge lets them live with them?
Nope.
All right, so there's a running joke in it.
Not the one who, like, he pretends to be Michael Jackson or something, or am I thinking something else?
No, that's a different episode. Okay. Yeah. This one is, well, like basically, you don't have the plot. The running joke is every time it's like, oh, can we go get this or go get that? And it's like, not until you finish your sundae. And then there's like a huge sundae they're holding, they're eating it, and it looks like they're in pain. Then eventually, like the fourth time, Marge is like, what's wrong with my sundaes?
Sounds actually very familiar now that you say about it. By the way, that quote-unquote Michael Jackson episode, the Happy Birthday Lisa song is one of the most heartwarming parts in the series, by the way. I remember that very vaguely from watching The Simpsons when I was younger. Okay, that's when you could start aging yourself, as you lived in a time when The Simpsons was tolerable.
You know why?
Why?
Because Conan O'Brien was the lead writer at the time.
Was he?
Yes, that was his first big job. Well, it was SNL, but then Simpsons was like when he said that he had more creative freedom.
That explains a lot. Okay, gentlemen, it is Super Bowl. Before we get into all the hockey, because there's many hockey to talk about, the first question is a very simple one. Who is winning the Super Bowl today? My guess, I've been with them all playoffs. I'm going to Cincinnati Bengals. For Harambe, I can't believe they brought that back.
Daniel.
I am going for the LA Rams, the La Rams.
How could you?
The Rams.
I think I mentioned it already before, but Matt Stafford is childhood friends with Clayton Kershaw, one of my favorite athletes across all sports. They grew up together in high school. Matt Stafford was actually the personal catcher for Clayton Kershaw on their high school baseball team back in Texas.
Neat. I like that. You know who also predicted the Rams?
Our school?
Dodger Toffoli. For those of you who don't know who Dodger Toffoli is, that is Cat and Tyler Toffoli's dog, who is named after the LA Dodgers. And he predicted the Rams via food in the bowl because dogs. So you're on that note. Alex, what about you?
Well, I think last time we talked about this, I said the Bengals, so I will go with the Bengals.
I appreciate that. Let's go. This is all for Brendan Gallagher. Even if win or lose the game that's going on with Montreal, at least he'll go home and be like, you know what? Hopefully I can watch my Bengals. If they lose the same day that Montreal, then we'll see what happens. 1-0 Buffalo right now. It was Jeff Skinner. Heartbreak.
You have to say it the way we love it.
I can't put that much energy this early into the show.
Okay.
Not to mention, it hurts my ribs, and my ribs are hurting from when I fell down the stairs the other day.
What?
This is news to me. I fell down some stairs the other day. Like,
are you okay?
No.
When
I go up the stairs, if I lead off with a certain leg, it hurts. The other one, no. Like, getting up in that is a challenge. Like, my ribs are hurting for some reason. My head's good now, but for the last 2 days, it was, I'd go, like, sometimes have a headache and then be kind of nauseous, and my appetite would come and go. My family was like, maybe you have a concussion, and I feel good now. But yeah, no, I'm in a lot of pain.
This happens when you don't look at the group chat for how many days?
Yeah, no, I can only imagine how many unread messages you have from that thing. Because if you step away for like 2 hours, it can go up to 70 plus.
Like 70 plus. And I like that there's corrections as well sometimes if there's like a typo. And then,
yeah. Well, I mean, considering how many typos I normally throw out, there's a lot of corrections. And sometimes I just leave it. I'm like, I'll let the guys figure it out. Anyway.
Most of the time. Before we get to hockey, though. Well, this is hockey related, but I want to shout out this tweet that you sent earlier this week, Adam. It was a reply to one of my tweets, but it was so good. I think it needs to be right on the show.
Go ahead.
For those of you who, if you're listening and not in Ontario or not in Canada, Doug Ford, our premier, or I don't know what the comparison is. But
governor, if you're
sure, I guess he had a press conference this week that was supposed to start at 10:30, which then got delayed to 10:45, but then didn't start until like 10:50. So I tweeted, if Mike Babcock had a presser about Doug Ford's press conference, he'd say, quote, "We got to start on time," which Adam replied to with the perfect quote and exactly what Mike Babcock would say. He's out there with his little shovel helping the little guys. He may be tardy, but he's a good man from a good family. Diet's a concern, though, and you got to eat well to be on a Mike Babcock team. I'm like, that's perfect.
I considered not tweeting the last part of that about the diet, but like the man is snowmobiling while the capital city of the country is, in his words, under siege right now. So I think all the gloves are off for the man. Also, doesn't do anything for students, so I don't care about the dude. I don't. So thank you. I thought it was good.
So
good man. You're helping a little bit. Good family, but not quite. Still got to iron out some stuff if he wants to play for this team. A lot of stuff going on there. Anyway, what did we open the show with? We got a lot to talk about.
We have a lot. We're gonna be here for like 4 hours.
That's not gonna happen. We're not letting that happen. Well, how about we start with the Canadiens, because they are playing at this very moment. Every time they cut to Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes in their wherever they're sitting, I just kind of think,
hope.
You poor gentlemen, you're seeing this and you're realizing how much work you have to do. Were you about to say something there, Daniel?
Yes. Yeah, like every time I see them, I thought hope, but now they went a different direction.
It is. No, do you know what? It's been very refreshing the last couple of days since we spoke. I mean, just to actually, before we really go into Montreal, a preview of the show, we're going to talk about Marchand's suspension, same with Marcus Foligno. We get to talk about 4 different press conferences today. Kevin Cheveldayoff spoke. Don Sweeney spoke. It was a bit of a shorter one, not as much. Ken Holland spoke because the Oilers fired their coach. We get to talk more about also their new coach, which I think is actually a bit of positives actually in Edmonton for once. Cammy Granato in Vancouver. I hate the Canucks for making all these great hires. The Coyotes and ASU are official. And besides that, we're going to talk about some stuff from 3-2 Thoughts. The Leafs, obviously, because the world is on fire for them right now, as it always is when they lose 2 straight games. And the Canadiens and Martin St. Louis spoke. So I guess first off, from his press conference, guys, I have like a word that I've sort of described all the press conferences we're talking about today. I described Martin St. Louis as confident. What do you guys think of it?
I think that's a pretty solid word to describe it as. I think, and I think when we look back at the past regime under Marc Bergevin, every single time someone spoke, it just oozed of anything but confidence. I think it would be fair to say, especially the last few press conferences. Whereas now, every time, I see Kent Hughes, when I saw the Kent Hughes press conference, when I saw the Jeff Gordon press conference, now when I see the Martin St. Louis press conference, it's very different. Like it's like they know. It's like they know what they're doing and they're confident in themselves and they're confident in the team in a way.
How about you, Dan? Because I think, Dan, were you the one who put the wow exclamation point in the doc next to his press conference?
No, that was me.
That was Alex.
You? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's Alex's signature expression, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's science.
What about you, Dan? Because you actually weren't even on the podcast because you were busy about the Marty St. Louis hire to begin with.
Yeah, for me, it was more of, this is going to be really cliche right now. Like, I'm going to use 2 cliches, but it's like light at the end of the tunnel. I think we were so frustrated with what was going on with Montreal the entire year that now you have that idea of growing pains there that, this is still going to be bad, but we changed things up and we know that there's going to be a lot more positives coming out of this, even though there are still going to be mounting losses here. And for Marty St. Louis to come in, I think that it just kind of stabilizes things, that he comes in, it's a fresh voice. It's a guy that everyone has known and respected. And he could kind of just settle things now, knowing that, we're going to lose, we're going to be bad, but we're going to see some positives here, and especially from the young guys right now. I believe it was Will Baldwin who said, was it development is never linear? Yes, I kept thinking that before the pod, where I'm thinking about Montreal now in a more, I guess, brighter light, positive light in that sense now, that they have the management team there that are going to be patient, that they know that what they're going to do. And I think even in the interim, and we'll see what happens after, but with Martin St. Louis, it's just something that it's headed in the right direction, that you don't have to get a guy that like that rotation, that carousel of coaches all the time. And I think that the fact that they broke that right now kind of shows that we were going to try everything necessary to be successful.
You talk about hope in different press conferences. The Jeff Gordon one when he was first hired, you love to see it. Before that, the Jeff Molson one. The Kent Hughes one was, oh my God, I love this so much. And the confidence in the vision of the Canadiens of off the ice, you had all the faith in the world. The problem was you would then watch them on the ice under Dom Ducharme and you think, my goodness, it's like a disease on ice, the way they play. The symptoms were awful. It was a genuine pain to watch. Now, Marty St. Louis is currently coaching his third game behind the bench. And you can see, first off, here's something really, really funny. I want to try and find this because there was a simple change apparently the Habs have made so far. That now obviously you still see some pains here and there because you're not going to change everything, right away. But I want to find this note that Jeff Petrie said. And my goodness, I think if anyone was questioning it before, I think it's very clear that Dom Ducharme's game plan did not cater to Jeff Petrie. We will talk about him in a second, though, because he kind of cost the Habs game. This is from Eric Engels a few days ago. Jeff Petrie basically says the Canadiens switched to man-on-man coverage in the defensive zone, and that led to more clarity among the players. He talked about the difference there over and over again. The eye test match, the Canadiens clearly looked far less confused. And I think that was after the first game against Washington. Another big thing that's happened already under Marty St. Louis, and obviously we talked about the whole thing of he hasn't coached anything besides U13 Pee Wee or something. Yeah, it's been questionable. What's been the big story so far? And do you guys remember what happened for, I think it was the first two games after Sheldon Keefe took over from Mike Babcock in Toronto. Do you guys remember what happened?
I do.
What happened, Alex?
I believe Tyson Barrie scored in the first game.
So in the first two good games since Dom Ducharme's been fired, Caulfield has scored twice. There was a third goal, but it was called back for an offside thing from Tyler Toffoli. And he's actually now been promoted to the top line for this game with Suzuki and Toffoli. So, and his past three, even the game against New Jersey, he looked so good. Him and Suzuki. The big thing, obviously, with Marty St. Louis has been this whole thing of not boxing players in the system, but more concepts with structure.
Yeah. Really
kind of like abstract thinking from players. You know what I mean? The way hockey is. And it's like giving your star player reads. I think what was his line that systems make great players average. He was like, I like it's been making Twitter rounds everywhere. Yeah. It's the most revolutionary thinking that's come out of the Montreal Canadiens organization this side of 2000.
Do you think Martin St. Louis would be willing to take a part-time job being our threes coach?
Alex, we don't need to worry about that. we just have to figure out some more coverage, some more. We have to figure out a lot of stuff for our threes. By the way, don't you love EA? No, we don't. EA is you can't figure a game out. Oh,
we used to love them.
Roster. Sorry?
We used to love them.
Yeah.
Then you grow older and you realize, when you start getting a brain for how games should work, you're like,
they took us for granted. They took us for granted. The fans.
They did.
No, they 100% did. They're greedy and they don't put effort into their games as much. Anyway, though, we should probably look. Some of the news around Montreal too is so apparently Vincent Lecavalier will not be assistant to the GM. They are looking to bring him on. This is from Pierre Lebrun. It's not official yet, and the big sort of roadblock is that Vincent Lecavalier wants to stay in Tampa with his family. Fair enough. You can still think that maybe they're going to figure something out like Detroit have done with Nick Lidstrom. But it's just funny that there's nothing simple. Nothing simple at all about Vincent Lecavalier coming to Montreal all these years later. So frustrating. And now it's 4-on-4 because Gallagher.
I remember all the rumors before when he was supposed to go to Montreal.
Well, recently, here's what's really silly is 2 weeks ago, somebody leaked what that original package was supposed to be to bring him to Montreal. And it was like everyone, there was Price, Subban, Pacioretty were all in the deal. That would have destroyed the Canadiens. If you look at it now, imagine if Tampa Bay had gotten Carey Price.
Oh my God.
No. My goodness, they would never have to need Vasilevsky because they would have the better goalie anyway. I said it. Suck it. Same sort of momentum carried over to the Columbus Blue Jackets game. What's funny about that game, too, is this is from John Liu. It was the first Habs 1-goal regulation loss since December 7th. Whoa. Take that in. That's how bad it's been. And another thing is Kane Primo's finally been sent down to the AHL, and they brought in a goalie to help in relief. We know Sam Mombo's probably not 100% healthy right now, and they bring in Alex the Hamburglar. Andrew Hammond is back.
That's exciting. I didn't even realize he was playing for Minnesota, but that is okay. No, I think for me, when I saw that trade, like it's literally all you need. Caden Primo should not be playing in the NHL right now, especially with what's in front of him. Like, you're putting him in an absolutely lose-lose situation. He can't be playing consistently in the NHL when the team in front of him is performing that in the fashion that it is. It's just not gonna end well. And the idea that you just keep running him out there, it's going to ruin his development. Like, that's just I believe that. Like, if you just keep running him out there like that.
Yeah, 100%. But listen, it's a small sample size, but so far the Canadiens, they're in games a lot longer right now than they have been. Almost to the end of the third, they've been in games, which has not been the case in Montreal for a couple weeks now, maybe even months if you really want to stretch it. The Columbus game hurt, though. The Columbus game hurt because Sam Mombo was playing so well. I think he was north of 40 saves. Last minute of the game, Patrick Laine gets, the one guy, one getting the clean look, gets a power play goal with, I think it was like 16 seconds left, not even that. And it was off a Jeff Petrie penalty. That was a little needless, a little reckless towards the end of the game. Jeff Petrie, I don't think can wait to get out of Montreal right now. It's at some point, it's just, he's so much better. I know I've been critical of him, and I still think he has to go. But my goodness, there's just something wrong with him. It's mental, but Sam Mombo, Daniel, I know you saw it. Alex, did you see the look on Sam Mombo's face when he was on the bench for the extra attacker?
Yeah.
He looked so sad. This is like the third game in like 3 weeks that he's brought the Canadiens so close to winning a game, and they've just let him down. It's a shame. I really like Sam Mombo, but they just keep letting him down. Oh boy! Oh, they're showing some of the shot stuff for their last few games. And my goodness.
I guess like right now for you guys, what do you think? I remember writing for the Hockey Writers that Andrew Hammond is a perfect insurance policy as a taxi squad goalie, but I guess Montreal is not in the same situation as a lot of teams when it comes to injuries or their goaltending. So what do you think? How many games do you think he's going to get in?
Oh, that's really. It's going to be a good number, you imagine. It's basically a good number until Jake Allen gets back. You'd imagine.
Right. And this is what's should happen. So they're gonna play, right? Hammond's gonna play. Montembeau's gonna come back, or I know he's here, but he's not 100% healthy, right? That's what.
They think he may need wrist surgery.
Oh, okay. Well, if he does, let's say he doesn't need surgery, and Jake Allen's going to come back at that moment when they're both good. If I'm Ken Hughes, I call up Ken Holland. I say, "Hey, Ken, I got a goalie for you," and then you trade Andrew Hammond to the Edmonton Oilers, and you hang up the phone.
You up it, man. I'll take a 7th if you want. So I'm just looking at some of their games here. So they've got a few days off. I don't think they play again until Thursday, if I'm looking at this right, which is kind of crazy to think of. That's against St. Louis, so that's a good team. Maybe get him in there. He can get a few, things of Eric Raymond. Then they play against like Sunday on the Islanders. Maybe you can play him there. That won't be a super busy game. Leafs on Monday. That's the 21st. I don't think Allen's going to be back for that, so. Or maybe you swap around the games and you throw Montembeau in for the Islanders and then Hammond against the Leafs, or now you'll probably Montembeau. I think he's earned that start, but that's not going to be a fun game for either of those guys. And then the Sabres again on the 23rd. You could probably do Yeah, maybe you just do St. Louis and the Leafs for Montembeault, and then Sabres and Islanders for Hammond. And that'll take you for like another week and a little bit. I think that's fine, fair. And then game after that's against the Sens. Who knows? But it's just really dependent on when Allen gets back.
It has to be Andrew Hammond though against the Sens.
You think?
Yeah.
It has to be.
By that time, yeah, no, you'd like him to get the revenge tour. You know what's funny is that was actually Andrew Hammond's second stint with the Iowa Wild in the AHL. I was doing some hockey DB research, and it's the second time he's been there. He had a few years. He was in like Milwaukee or something. He's been around. It's really
yeah. He's been around.
Old man. I can't believe he's already 34. He doesn't look super old either. So we'll see what happens. Some other stuff is Ben Sherratt. It looked like he hurt himself yesterday. He finished the game. Now he's on IR. Apparently, Renaud Laval saying it shouldn't be long term. Maybe a bit of a precautionary thing here. What's funny is yesterday, Dan Robertson, a guy who actually does some commentary for some Habs games. Normally it's like him or Brian Mudryk for TSN. He actually reported that it sounds like interest on Petrie was starting to heat up a bit. So maybe once he gets back and they show he's healthy again, maybe we could see a Sherratt trade sooner rather than later. And we're all kind of waiting for that first domino to fall. Yeah. Maybe once he's healthy, Sherratt could be the first one.
I saw someone and I couldn't find the tweet this morning, and it's oh no, I sent it to you guys. I will find it, but it was about Ben Sherratt, and apparently, it might be a good idea for the LA Kings.
That was Dan Robertson.
That was Dan Robertson.
Yeah, that was him. Yes,
the Bergevin effect, man. I'm telling you, the Bergevin effect is real.
You don't need Alex Turcotte, right? So, Quentin Byfield, nah, you just send them Montreal. You don't need him.
I found another tweet too where it was during the NBA trade deadline, and it was hilarious. I'm gonna look for it now, but it's just like when they compare like the two dogs.
Yeah, it's like the buff dog, and it's like James Harden gets traded to the other side of the thingy, like other side of the league, and then it's a small dog, and it's like, ooh, Ben Sherratt for a first. That's a big one.
Yeah. Then like the way I think Donald also tweeted about it, but just the way we go into deadlines, like just in general about any sport, that there's always these huge rumors. And I think for the first time in the NBA, it's like the ones that you just thought of, but were the biggest ones actually happened. And then for me now, it's like going into the NHL trade deadline. I really hope that teams are just like that. It's like, okay, let's spend. Let's get nuts.
Same.
It's so funny that comparison between the NBA and the NHL, because I was with Donald on Thursday during the NBA trade deadline as we're talking about trades that are happening. Obviously, there was a Goran Dragic trade, which was, I guess, minor, but like it was the Raptors, so we were talking about it, and we kind of got up to the point where we were talking about James Harden being traded, who's a star in the league. Like it's like a big, huge name. And then we start talking about like hockey and stuff, and like the trade deadline, and I'm like, yeah, Ben Sherratt is like the biggest name that's going to be moved up.
Who's like, the Panthers don't want to give up too much for Jacob Chikrin. Like, why do you think I get so upset when I keep hearing like no one wants to give up any prospect? Man, remember there were whispers. I don't think it ended up being true, but when the Knicks were in for the lottery for Zion, there was whispers of maybe they're going to package it for Anthony Davis, and it's like that's a first overall pick. That never happens ultimately didn't happen because ended up going to the Pelicans. But it's just this thing of like, who cares about no offense to Leafs fans. I'm just thinking of this. What, Matty Knives or Knives? Who gives a crap about Knives? Go get Chikrin. Like, I want NHLers to have this, or like executives, just go for it. Get nuts. Look at how sick Vegas is. And they're just like, we're going to go for it. We're going to get nuts. What was the last big multiple player extravaganza trade deadline move? Because I'm thinking it was the JT Miller, Ryan McDonough trade to Tampa.
I'm thinking Columbus. Remember they did all those deals?
Yeah, but Stone was for a first and it was
Eric Brandstrom, and a second. But with Columbus, it was like the Duchesne conditions, I think, on all of those, with like Lassie Thompson going to Ottawa.
The Duchesne.
the one that came out of absolutely nowhere, and I think it was quite surprising when it happened. And Anthony Mantha going from Detroit to Washington, like that caught everyone off guard.
That was like a 2:58 p.m. trade.
Yeah, like that one genuinely caught people off guard.
And the conditions on it, you knew that had been going for a while, but no one heard a single whisper of it, which is hilarious how well that was kept under wraps. But even that's like, no offense to Vrana and Mantha, but are those stars? You know, even though on both their teams, I mean, Vrana was like fourth fiddle in terms of star power on the Capitals. Yeah, he was one of their best even strength producers, but was he? He wasn't Ovi, he wasn't Oshie, he wasn't Carlson, he wasn't Kuznetsov, he wasn't Backstrom, you know, that kind of like big trade, but it's like Mark Stone's the biggest name. No offense to Mark Stone. He's a superstar, that's fair, but that was just think of it, you're in that sort of true go for it type where you have all these picks. How much would like a Mark Stone caliber player go for if for like an NBA comparison? Like who's a good comparison? Kawhi? Not as like a super, like can still score, but like defensively is a masterclass type player. You know what I mean? Like that would be a super like, oh my God, look at this. I just dropped a highlighter. Like I want that zest in there. You know what I mean? It's like, oh goodness gracious, Eichel got traded for.
Who's a pending like star right now? Like pending UFA right now in the NHL?
Hurdle? Kadri? Malkin?
Yeah, and none of those guys are going to get moved. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but why? But I think the difference is why would Colorado trade Kadri? Like, what's the point?
So,
like, you're not supposed to make the trade to make the trade. Like,
let's look at another team and look. So, who's like a team that has a free agent that is clearly not going to make it? There is no excuse why Marc-Andre Fleury shouldn't get moved, right? Or if you're the Ducks, obviously
that's a different situation. He has a no trade clause.
I think what I mean. It's still like you as the Vegas Golden, as the Chicago Blackhawks should be doing your best to convince Fleury, listen, dude, this is for the betterment of the franchise. Or if you're the Sharks, it seems like the Hurdle contract's going a certain way and they're still waiting for him to hear it. Like the Ducks, I still think they should hold on to their players and try and go on a run to be great for Zegras. But if you're being really smart, you're trading Manson and Lindholm because you're not good enough.
And Raquel.
Like, this is the thing. And Raquel and Raquel should have been, what was it? I said, if Raquel wasn't dealt by the draft last year, I think they made a mistake not dealing him at the deadline, and look how it's went since then. I just think the thing with the NHL is I feel like general managers have this say of like, you never know what's gonna happen if you make the playoffs, but every year, whoever wins the cup, when was the last time someone won the cup where it was like you didn't expect that team to do it? Even when Washington won, it wasn't supposed to be their year, but they had been the Washington Capitals, one of the best teams in the league for a decade. Like, say what you want, the Stars probably shouldn't have made it to the finals, the Habs, but they didn't win it in the end. My breaking heart. I love you, Montreal. But you know what I mean? It's like there's delusion within the sort of mindset of general managers in the NHL. Like, what are the Jets going to do? The Jets aren't good enough, and they're going to be like probably steadfast.
I mean, it doesn't help that half the league is up against a salary cap, and then another half of the teams are working on an internal cap. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I don't think the NHL has the capabilities to pull off a move like a James Harden trade at the deadline.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go on. You sure?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry for interrupting. I think, there's one example I have is the Woj feature he had recently about how the trade went down between Harden and Ben Simmons. I think the biggest thing with that is just in terms of the culture of the leagues. He spoke about a lot of like personal details about what was going on in each person's life. Like one example was like James Harden's 32 and he still parties like he's like a 23-year-old. And like he likes to go out, and like even before practices, like he's a guy that likes to go out. And it's just like, okay, I guess that's socially acceptable if you're a superstar in the NBA. And those were things that they were thinking that were detrimental towards the team, that they wanted to get value for him now. But the way these narratives were going, or even on Ben Simmons' side, that they were showing that this guy didn't want to play. This is what he's going through. Like I think they even mentioned that, he's going through therapy right now. I think these are just such details that if I'm an NHL, from the NHL perspective, it's just like all these things would be under wraps, or it's where they're like, we're not going to deal with a guy because it's not going to be like that. Or we're not going to let this kind of be in the public eye and show that, okay, we're dealing with this. I think it was just the NHL's like, we're just going to figure it out on our own.
Bertrand doesn't like PK's personality. Banish him to Nashville.
So I pulled up Winnipeg's cap friendly page. They have 3 UFAs. Well, they have 4, but CJ Seuss, I don't know. I don't know what you're going to get for that.
Who is that? Right. Sorry, I've heard that guy's name.
Right. That's my point. The Nathan Beaulieu, Andrew Kopp, and Paul Stastny. None of them should be on the team by the end of the year. If they're not going to make the playoffs,
you could get something. Beaulieu could get you a pick because depth defensemen get moved. Like they picked him up for the sake of getting a depth defenseman. I remember years ago. Right. Stastny's a center could get you something. Kopp, someone would definitely pick up Andrew Kopp. There's stuff there. You can. I'm getting really annoyed. Since we're just talking about Winnipeg, why don't we talk about Kevin Cheveldayoff quickly?
Sure.
Because, again, my one word for this press conference is I just felt there were a lot of excuses. I don't know if it's because I've witnessed the Canadiens have a season filled with injuries and COVID like no other team has seen before, but I hear Cheveldayoff make these sort of excuses, and I'm just like, no wonder you and Bergevin came from Chicago. Is this you're saying the same things here? And I find it very weird that because their roster should not be this bad. Should not be. We've been very quiet about the Jets here. Should not be this bad. Even if Kyle Buck's not around the 919, 920 save percentage, I think he's around the 913. That's still a little bit above league average. That's giving you a chance to win every night. And I think the advanced numbers show that their tandem completely is actually very good. The defense is, I wonder if it still feels patchwork or if it's even modern enough. Because isn't it kind of funny that Sami Niku never quite developed there? There's word Hanola's played 6 games this year. Now the World Juniors isn't great for showing how a player's going to be come the NHL, but how good was he in the World Juniors a couple of years ago? And he's barely played this year, and he didn't play at all last year under Paul Maurice.
They kept
That's when I
yo-yoing
start
him.
questioning things.
Yeah, they kept yo-yoing him. I remember because they were kind of desperate after they lost all those UFAs, and he made the team right out of the draft, and then he was pretty solid, and then they sent him down, and then he went to Manitoba, and then he's like back and forth like that. And I don't think that I'm not saying it's a Stuart Percy situation right now, but it just kind of starting to feel like that, where he's a guy that he needs consistent playing time, and he's a young guy that you didn't have to kind of, I think someone mentioned it before, but you have to have that set of guys who call up from the AHL where maybe they're a bit older, but they could slide in perfectly as a depth kind of guy. And then they're the guys who are like the middle people before you get into the young guys.
You guys ever have a chance to look at a guy like Evgeny Svechnikov's ice time this year? There were times he was playing a minute per period. That's a more skilled guy. I just wonder if there's a philosophy changing that needs to happen in Winnipeg. Because I don't trust Cheveldayoff anymore. I don't know if I still have this Kyle Beach thing in my head here because I don't think he should have a job. Mr. Cheveldayoff, I don't think he should. And it's just, I get you can't replace Dustin Byfuglien, but has not enough time elapsed where you can have a different sort of philosophy about how you can build your defense? Because there are good pieces there. You know what I mean? I wonder if the Jets, they're a top-end team, we know that, but am I going to be snippy? Do I make a Patrick Laine joke? I know Dubois is good, but man, Blake Wheeler, I know hasn't been healthy, but he's getting older, he's getting worse. That money could have gone to Patrick Laine, and you're that much more special. There's a lot wrong with the Jets that I don't like.
I'm so concerned about the defense too, because it's been, enough time for us to show that, Josh Morrissey is not a number one guy. That they don't really have, they have quality, but they just don't have like that staff ace defenseman type of guy to kind of lead everything. And I know that's it's difficult to kind of just say get a top defenseman. But I think that they've been throwing a lot of money around to just kind of do that patchwork to kind of go, hey, we're going to be consistent these 3 pairings, but we don't really have that guy.
To me, when it comes to their defense, like I think you make a good point. Like Josh Morrissey isn't a number 1 defenseman, and I'm not trying to crap on Josh Morrissey, but number 1 defensemen are extremely limited. I think how many could you name on like Hedman, Makar, Fox? I'd put Yossi in there.
Yeah.
Pietrangelo, that's 5. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but it's not as big as maybe we think it is. And I think they've gone the St. Louis route of, okay, we're going to try to bring in multiple really good defensemen who aren't number 1s. They might be number 2s, but there's a few 3s in there. And it just hasn't worked out the way they want it to.
I had a hope with it. Like I've talked to you guys about this last, oh my gosh, it's been 2 years already, but the last 2 years about Dylan DeMello, or they go in and bring another guy like that, like a Brendan Dillon, that they try to stabilize things with these like quality defensemen. And it is true. It just hasn't worked out the way I thought it would.
I think we're all a little disappointed in Winnipeg, right?
Because there's so much skill there. There's so much like potential there.
I mean, they got like Kyle Connor's nasty. Nick Ehlers is nasty. I don't know how I feel about Marchand, but he's been better this part of the season, I'd say. Even though his defensive numbers are apparently they've always been bad, but they seem to be especially bad nowadays.
Their top 6 is, I think, is very good. They have an extremely good goaltender. I'm not sure what we're missing here.
Maybe it's a systems thing. I mean, Maurice said they needed a new voice, and is Dave Lowry that much of a different voice? I probably don't think so. And maybe it's a coaching thing. Maybe they've got to change things around. We'll see what happens.
Is Dave Lowry interim?
I believe he is, yes.
Yeah, he is. Okay.
All right. Shall we look at another team here to see what's up?
Sure.
Okay. How about we go to...
Today's episode is brought to you by Pair Networks. If you have a business, you need a website. What's the best way to get a website up and running? Choosing a website hosting service that makes it simple, like Pair Networks. Pair has over 20 years of experience managing the entire digital ecosystem for thousands of online businesses all around the world. Pair makes it easy for you with do-it-yourself website building tools and features, including simple drag and drop page design. And they have guaranteed US-based support technicians ready to help you whenever you need it. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Right now, when you sign up with Pair Networks, you will receive 1 free month of web hosting. See for yourself how easy it is to build your website for free. Visit pair.com/free to get your first month of website hosting for free by using the code QUICKSTART. That's pair.com/free, promo code QUICKSTART, all one word, to get started today.
The Edmonton Oilers.
Awesome.
Okay. So Dave Tippet was fired earlier this week, which, I think we all sort of saw coming eventually, AKA the Oilers had 2-3 good games, as we know when they got Evander Kane, they beat Montreal. I'm so happy for you guys. Congratulations. But then they had 2 very difficult losses when they came back from the All-Star game. Mike Smith was not great to start one of those games, by the way, and then I think he went back-to-back in them. Even got the Bronx cheer from the crowd. Say what you want about the passes. You need a save early in the game. You just do. And Tippett goes. Jay Woodcroft comes in the meantime, guy who apparently has been doing a great job with the Condors. Before we go into Ken Holland's press conference, because it felt like the best thing I don't think he did Woodcroft a lot of credit in the press conference. All he said, and they didn't do it together, it was separate. But all he could really say was, he was a video coach, watches a lot of film, likes the details. And you, as a fan, I could say, well, clearly I'm qualified to be head coach because I watch a lot of hockey. Now, actually listening to Woodcroft's press conferences, I've been listening to at his first one and a few of his post games. The guy sounds like Babcock, the way he talks, but he's actually a bit of fresh air when you listen to him. Very unselfish guy. Very much seems to favor, the thing was like, this isn't about me. This is about the team. Of course, they won his first game with him. I like the dude, and apparently they seem to be revamping the penalty kill. I haven't seen their lines lately, but his first practice, he had the center depth as McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins. We'll see what happens, but your guys' initial impression on Woodcroft, because I kind of like him so far.
I think what you said was kind of spot on. Like, it's a breath of fresh air. Like, this is what the team needs. It's just the way it went down. It feels so wrong. But I'm happy that if this changes the Edmonton Oilers, hallelujah. Everybody in Edmonton should love this guy if things change.
For me, I think it's a lot more about the practicality of things, where you don't see the team. He notices what I think we see is that when you mentioned the Nugent Hopkins on the third line, that things were just way too top heavy for this team, that they kept rolling the same things over and over again, trying to get different results. And I think at this point, you just have to kind of see what you have, and you're going to have to just roll with it, but just find different ways to do it. I think the Oilers just needed that reset. I think that this probably, for me, it's a month late that this happened, but that they're trying something new to a certain extent. And, I don't know. Well, I'll be the optimist here. Maybe they'll salvage the season. Maybe they'll finish strong. But at this point, I think like this is just another change that's going to really kind of affect, I think, in the offseason of not a stability kind of standpoint of things, but more questions to be asked. Like, okay, so what's the status of our stars? What's the status of our guys that are here that's supposed to be the building blocks? Like, are we really showing them that we're committed to winning? Are we committed to really kind of showing them that there's longevity in a system we want to build? Because I think someone mentioned this is like the 6th coach for Connor McDavid, or 7th?
I want to say it was like 4th. I think it's 4th in his 7th season.
Okay,
Somebody said 6th, but I could swear this is his 7th season. But so who's it been? There's Woodcroft, Tippett, McLennan,
Ralph Kruger,
Hitchcock.
Kruger.
Did he? No, he didn't have Ralph Kruger. Wasn't that Buffalo?
No, he didn't have Ralph Kruger. So McDavid came in 2015, right?
I think so.
So it was Todd McClellan from 15-16 to 18-19.
Okay, you have that. Okay.
Then Ken Hitchcock for the rest of the year. Dave Tippet from 19-20 to 21-22, obviously, and now Jay Woodcroft.
Yeah. I have their lists up of the coaches they've had in the 2000s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 coaches since 2000. That is as an organization. So then how many does Nuge have? Because it's even more than that.
What year was
2011?
Oh.
2011. So his would have been McTavish. Yeah. Oh, no. Wait. What the heck? Oh, no, he was Okay, so that would have been Tom Remy. He had Ralph Kruger, Dallas Eakins, Todd Nelson, then McLennan, Hitchcock, Tippett, Woodcroft. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm so sorry. So going to Ken Holland himself, though. My one word for this press conference was lost. If I was an Oilers fan watching that press conference, I would be so concerned about the team. First off, I swear him and Babcock must be such good friends because they're good men. Good men. Like, I understand he was like, good men lost their jobs. They good hockey men, but you understand you want to. I think Tippett was dealt a bad hand, to be honest. And I think Mike Hoffman just timed the game. Let's go. Hoffman. Going on though. Sorry, Daniel, what were you going to say there?
Oh, just the part you mentioned before the Mike Hoffman quote was the good men quote. In my notes, I wrote down Alex's point he made, I think 2 seasons ago, where it's like, listen, Cody CC, I'd have a beer with him, but I wouldn't put him on the ice.
Norris Trophy winner in NHL 22. Apparently, someone threw that clip in one of our group chats. Like when your GM describes your season up and down like a toilet bowl, even though it was one good up and it's been down since, except for 2 games, you know what really, really worried me? I heard the name Keith Gretzky more than I did Connor McDavid in that entire press conference, which really, really, really concerned me.
That should be concerning. Like it I think you were spot on when you said it was a mess. Like, it was a mess. He did not, to me, I did not think Ken Holland is confident in his team at all. Maybe that's the way he speaks, but I watched Kevin Cheveldayoff speak. I watched Don Sweeney speak, and I know we'll get to that. I watched Martin St. Louis speak. I watched Kent Hughes, Jeff Gordon, et cetera, et cetera. They all seem confident in their team or in the organization. I did not get that at all.
I think he's getting to a point now with Ken Holland that, for me, I just saw a bit of frustration there where the confidence isn't there, because I think for him, he's reached a point that he's probably thinking that, and we see it in a different way, that he's like, hey, I gave you all of this. I put in all of this money for all these things. How are you being so ungrateful and not succeeding on the ice? Like, that's what I kind of felt when he mentioned the Cody CC contract, or he mentioned Adam Larson.
Yeah.
We lost some puck movers. We lost Adam Larson. I'm like, what? Yeah. What's really funny about that too is Adam Larson, for those listening who didn't remember, he left for the exact same contract in Seattle.
Yeah,
he left, which was the right thing for him, because he was right as he started to play well for Edmonton. He's like, okay, bye. You've kind of treated me like garbage for all these years. I'm going to go now. There were some lines that Holland also talked. And listen, I know what you mean now. Compared to, he just kind of has that sort of, his tone is almost normally sounds unsure, but compared to his last press conference, there was more. He just sounds so confused, like even more so. You know what I mean? Like, comparing the 2 press conferences, there is definitely some worry there. The it's in the room answer was thrown out there. When you hear that, pro tip, if you're getting into hockey and you're a fan of a team and you watch a press conference, by the way, anytime a GM speaks, you have to listen to it. If you hear the term, the answer is in the room, panic. And so he once again used the line of, it's on me, I built this team, which if I'm Daryl Cates, I'm saying, okay, well, I guess you're going to be gone in the offseason, but look at the damage he's already done. And someone asked about the Oilers' identity, right? And his whole thing was, well, we play tough and we cycle the puck. Dude, that's Michel Therrien used to say that. We're going to be fancy cycling the puck. You have to cycle the puck. That's part of modern hockey, you doofus. What do you think? You have Connor McDavid. You don't know what your identity is? What is it? What is the Oilers' identity? And you can't just say McDavid and Draisaitl. What is it? What makes the Oilers special?
McDavid and Draisaitl. That's what makes the Oilers special from day one. From day one, before Ken Holland was here, under Peter Chiarelli, that was them. That's what made them special.
So then and then here's the next question then what do the other 10 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 2 goalies, what are they all about? Because now what's worrying is insider trading. Darren Dreger was talking about, as opposed to defense, the Oilers are more concerned about their defense, and they're looking for around a 2, 3, 4 defenseman. When you just brought in CC and Keith and traded Ethan Bear, who's been good in Carolina, surprise, surprise, who isn't good when they go to Carolina. Just a little lost here, Ken. Just a little lost is just, what are you doing, man?
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. Can I say, though, that press conference felt very Pierre Dorian-esque. Just the entire thing. I don't know if it's just me. I feel bad for Dave Tippet. Like I think he was thrown under the bus. Last month, when did Ken Holland have that press conference where he said, "I don't fire my coaches mid-season"?
I don't even think it was a calendar month ago.
What's changed, Ken? What's changed? Like, why you said I'm not going to fire my coach mid-season? Then you fired your coach mid-season. Pierre Dorian said, "We're not firing Guy Boucher." A week later, he fired Guy Boucher. Why? Why did you fire Dave Tippet? Dave Tippett's not the problem here. He might be part of the problem. He is not the problem. He's not the problem.
The roster is the problem.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
100%. But no, it's Connor McDavid's leadership and Darnell Nurse.
Oh, and actually, there it is. Because Mark Spector had an article that was very Mark Spector. What was the line? McDavid's defense couldn't carry Sidney Crosby's bag. Darnell Nurse is more concerned with scoring. Just kind of unfair comments. I thought, this is, well, Darnell Nurse, well, I mean, he's got to go and try and score because the Oilers are always playing from behind because they always let him the first goal. And he's, shut up, Spec.
It's also
I thought it was a really unfair piece.
It was. I think that was a cheap shot to appreciate. I think a big thing too is it's a trend we've mentioned before where we have these guys that come in, be these depth guys or these guys that be complementary pieces, and it does succeed, like a Zach Hyman example. But for me, I think about Connor McDavid's going to be 25. Leon Draisaitl is 26.
Wow.
If you don't have those top 3 picks, what are you doing when it comes to developing your own depth? Like, they've been taking defensemen off the board. They've been getting all these other forwards. And I'm not just thinking about the first round picks. I'm thinking about everywhere else. Like, there's guys that within that 6-7 year gap, like, where are those guys that are coming up and being, regular contributors? Because we're looking at other contenders. Like, we're looking at, I know it's unfair, but I'm looking at Tampa Bay, where they don't even always have the top pick, but they're able to develop their own guys through the system. And that's why even this year, after going back to back and they lost so many guys to UFA, there's still guys coming up, like a Matthew Joseph, an Anthony Cirelli. I know that one's kind of, but it's just those examples where you keep the guys in the system and you get the guys that you could actually bring up later on.
To be fair, I will defend him a little bit that it did and it would have been pretty difficult for this guy not to land. Bouchard's been playing this year, and Broberg, who's been one of the Woodcroft guys, I think he gave him some specialized time the other day, and he's been better. But it's just that those are guys going to be more towards the bottom of the line that aren't locked up to turn. Duncan Keith is out apparently, concussion protocol. Cassian's out again. That guy, past couple of years, people don't talk about how hurt he's been. He's got term. When those young defensemen that are playing well start to go up, and then every part of your lineup is sort of those middling contracts are inflated, you're screwed. You want to know something I noticed the other day that I thought was really funny? So you guys know how Bogosian has that multi-year deal in Tampa? You know how they just extended what's his name? Patrick Maroon. But it was like a 2-year extension. Tampa are smart that they're not doing what the Kings did and giving Trevor Lewis like a 6-year deal, or what the Islanders are doing. Casey Zeke is getting a 6-year deal. Something about Tampa that I noticed. I'm like, God, I hate you. I hate that you're being smart about this.
You didn't mention Corey Perry.
I don't know what you're talking about, Daniel. And with that, we can move on from the Oilers because you've ruined it. I don't know what you're talking about. Corey Perry never left. I miss him so much. I miss him every day. Oh, he was such a great app. Don Sweeney, GM of the Bruins, spoke. My word here is reserved because he mastered the art of saying something without saying something. He never speaks often to Sweeney, so it's always a surprise when he does. Apparently, they haven't talked to David Krejci, but I'm pretty sure David Krejci has made it known that he'd be open to a return. And Brad Marchand feels remorseful, guys. I think on that note, we can talk about Mr. Marchand, can't we?
Sure.
First off, I'd like to offer a congratulations. The most suspended player, most individual suspensions in NHL history. Well done, Brad. Well done. Give it up for him, guys. Come on.
Awesome.
Give him a clap. You love to see it. I'm so proud of him. So proud of him.
Where should we
So
start?
he gets a 6-game suspension for his brouhaha with Tristan Jarry in Winnipeg. He will be appealing it. I do have some quotes, Brad, from Brad Marchand, if you would like me to read them.
Sure.
And this is to Fluto Shinwaza. I definitely said that name wrong, and I apologize. Brad Marchand, was it stupid? Of course it was stupid. I'm not denying that. I absolutely should not have done it. But suspension worthy? I don't think so. Very, very hefty suspension for these plays. The only way they can justify that is on the history side of things. These plays were not going to injure Jarry. No potential injury on that play. He was still very well protected. The fact that it's 6 games is based on history, not on that play.
Thank you, Brad, for telling us the obvious. I mean this in the most respectful way possible. I feel no sympathy.
No, it's Brad Marchand.
I feel zero sympathy for Brad Marchand. I don't know if that was his intention. I doubt it was. I feel no sympathy.
Tripled down on it. You know what I mean? So I mean, the first time was remember when Tristan Jarry tried to give a puck to a fan, hit it out of his hand.
That same game, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, that's excusable. But then there were 2 instances. There was the roughing, and then there was also the stick to the head when he was skating away. That, what do you expect is going to happen? And it's it was a bit too severe for me that you literally did those many things in one game.
Sometimes I feel like Don Fear just isn't telling the players how the rules work. Yes, it's history. I don't know what we're talking about here. If it's not Brad Marchand, for sure it's not 6 games. I almost guarantee you it's not 6 games. But Brad Marchand got suspended in November. Brad Marchand has been suspended 6 times before this. That's how it works. Great. Awesome.
I just love this thing of the most suspended individual in NHL history thinks, oh yeah, it's because of the history. Yeah, Brad, because you don't learn. I don't know what you want me to say, buddy, but yeah, of course. It's like the Spezza thing. It's like how the Leafs tried to argue, well, if the game was called right, Spezza would not have flying kneed that man. Okay, he's still flying kneed the man. Brad, was it boned? Yes. You still punched the guy on the side of the head without him noticing. You still tried to flick his head with your stick. You still did it, buddy. Shut up.
That's it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what else to say because he should have been suspended. I'm of the belief that was a suspendable play. Yeah. I very much disagree with Brad Marchand on that. But 100%, he was suspended that many games because of his history. The same way Tom Wilson is suspended extra games because of Tom Wilson's history.
God, I hate Marchand. I just can't stand him. I think it's the commissioner gets first nod, and the freaking Jeff Skinner again. Oh, it's Jeff Skinner, boys! Come on, boys!
I think that's the title of the episode. I think that's the title of the episode.
It's Jeff Skinner.
It was Jeff Skinner again.
It was Jeff Skinner. If he gets a hat trick, I might actually lose my mind. Hold on, I just want to look at this. Nice shot, head up. I think he just beat him clean. Oh,
is he living up to his contract now?
We'll see. Oh, well, friggin', who is the big man screening Sam Montembeault? Who's 89 for the Sabres? Is that Tuck?
Alexander McGillney.
It is not that. I think it was Alex Tuck. Yeah, you just saw poor Mambo to have a chance. You got to clear the big man screening your goalie there, boys. But nice. Okay, Habs are down by 1, halfway through the second, halfway through the game. Not a good unit. Your roster's not in great shape when Paul Byron's playing second line center, by the way.
Yeah, that was. I know we talked about Martin St. Louis already, but when I saw that, I'm like, okay, he's really changing it up. They reminded me of Leo Komarov on the first line.
Byron's played in a pinch before. They just don't have anyone else because Dvorak is we don't know what's up with Christian Dvorak, but he's hurt. Suspension news otherwise around the league. Marcus Foligno gets 2 games for kneeing Adam Lowry. Their whole thing was it would have been more games if it wasn't a more violent knee. He still tried to knee the man. I can borderline accept it if there wasn't 3 different knee incidents this year.
I can't accept it at all.
No, Marcus, we love you, but what are you doing?
I'm still of the belief that if that got more media attention, he would have gotten more games. Like, that's just how it works. Like, you had precedent earlier this year and you decided not to do that. You had precedent and said, no, screw precedent. We're just going to throw games at him.
I just remember how eventful it was because remember George Peros was supposed to be on Michael Russo's podcast.
Yes.
And then right when that event happened, a minute before they were supposed to go on air, George Peros is like, I can't make the show.
I got something to do. By the way, guys, I have something to do. I want to celebrate. Jeff Petrie has tied the game.
We always loved him.
Trade value.
He never said anything today.
Trade value. Oh, you love to see it. Maybe Anderson got a piece in front. I don't think he did. Oh, look at that. Winds up for the shot from the point. That may have gone off a saber or two. I don't know. That's hot.
Are we saying that this is the battle of the Jeffs?
Jeff Skinner versus Jeff Petrie, who is at the lowest point of rock bottom right now. Let's go, Jeff. Big dub. Big dub with that big beard of his. You'll love to see it. Okay. Woo. My mom just texted me saying apologize. She probably means apologize to Jeff Petrie for all the grief I've given him over the years. Or just this year, but no, I refuse to. The Canucks. So apparently they're interested in Pavel Zacha out of New Jersey. We're not going to talk about too much about that because, no offense, don't care. I just find it's really interesting because you got to imagine Rachel Dore, former member of the New Jersey Devils, now, of course, part of the analytical department, with Vancouver. I just thought that was really neat. A great hire. And, looking at hires, the Canucks have made another one, and that's Cami Granato. She's been snatched up away from Seattle, the rivals. And now she's one of the AGMs along with Emily Castonguay. Great. My tears. Now she's in Vancouver joining Patrick Alvin, Jimmy Rutherford. They've got a staff going, eh? They got a staff. Imagine remember the beginning of the year when it's like, Jim Benning, and how quickly it's turned around.
What a complete 180 for this organization.
Does it not feel like a decade ago?
They surprised me a lot. Yeah. Like the Canucks, we've talked about them for so long, saying like, oh, okay, you guys are not changing anything. You're not doing anything right. And they proved me wrong in this short stretch right now that they're doing all of these amazing hires, that they're changing everything around it. And again, like, I don't know, that's the theme of the year. Like we didn't know Montreal was going to do it. And then we didn't know Vancouver was going to do it. But I think with Vancouver, it was more of this was expected to happen a long time ago, and now we're finally seeing it. That it's like they're proving me wrong each time. As I remember, I was listening to the older episodes about what are the Canucks doing. They're wasting Pettersson, they're wasting Hughes. They don't know what they're doing with the contracts, and now they just have a blueprint in place of what they want to do.
Hey man, listen. There's something about the Canucks that I'm happy for them. Because I mean, they've gotten so much grief, including from us on the show. I don't mind being proven a little wrong about the Canucks. It'll be interesting to see what they do with JT Miller, what kind of price they get for it. You'll love to see it.
They got grief, rightfully so. Like the way that was going was brutal in like every aspect.
Well, Jim Benning. Somebody's got to edit together his best bits. We're playing well. We like PD. We just ran out of time, though. It's unfortunate. I'm Jim Benning. We really like Jake Virtanen. We think it's unfortunate what happened, but God, he sucks. God, Jim Benning sucks. I'm happy he's gone. And no one to hire him. And now the Habs are a competent organization. It's probably not going to happen with them. So, thank goodness. I can't wait for Edmonton to hire him. Oh, yes. Could you imagine? Something I couldn't imagine a year ago is that the Coyotes are officially going to play at ASU for the next, I think it's 3 years. Gentlemen, how do we feel about that? It's happening.
When all of this COVID stuff is under control, maybe we should go to a game there. It may be cheaper than a Leafs game or a Habs game.
I wouldn't be
For
opposed to that, actually.
Oh, it's definitely going to be cheaper.
Okay, we'll go.
So what's
Do you want my honest opinion?
I hope you give your honest opinion on the podcast.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you've been lying about wanting Ben Sherratt. I knew it.
Well, okay. About that, Friedman brought up Ben Sherratt on 32 Thoughts headlines last night. Did not mention the Leafs name. Every team but the Leafs. No,
the Leafs are quiet on that stuff. We know that.
Yeah. Just gonna quickly move on from that. The ASU stuff. I think this is total Bush League. Like total Bush League. What other? Okay. What other league would this happen in? Because now, remember, this is originally we all thought it was contingent on them moving to Tempe, right? The idea was you move to ASU for 3 years while they're building this imaginary stadium complex that we've been talking about. Now, I believe I sent it to you guys. Craig Morgan confirmed that that's actually a misconception. It is actually that they're going to go there regardless of whether the arena gets approved or not. So what other league would this happen in?
An imaginary league in a TV show.
I honestly just like the only history I know of this are and these are these special like event things. When like the Leafs or the Raptors, they go to like Humber College or they go to they go to York or they go to all these places and like they open practice. You know what I mean? That's the only time I know that this is happening.
So what's interesting about these kind of gubs is apparently as part of the deal, Arizona State, with the deal with Arizona State, the Coyotes agreed to pay rent and construction costs up front.
Wait, what? They're paying rent? They're paying rent to play well, and they have to pay for the upgrades.
Yes. And what is it? So I think it's ASU. There's some dividing with, but like they maintain the naming rights. How bad is that?
It's reminding me of how like every time there was like a high school sitcom or a comedy, and then for example like Saved by the Bell, and then they always had like a spin-off. It's like the college years. For me, it's like right now it's like the Arizona Coyotes, the college years.
Going back to school, man.
Every time I listen, we talk about this, I feel like I'm in cuckoo land because this doesn't make sense. Imagine the audacity, and we talked about this when it happened at a press conference in front of, and this was on Sportsnet, this was on YouTube. Gary Bettman said, in one of our projections, they would make more money at ASU than they would in Glendale. Are you charging $2,000 per ticket? Like, what projection gave you that number? I want to know, Gary. I want to know because that's unbelievable.
You know what they're doing? They're tapping into the our age group of university students that want the Kachina jersey. That's what's going on.
With whose name on it? I think Adam brought that up when we talked about it. No one's there long term. Jacob Chikrin, gone. Phil Kessel, gone. Like it's Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller. That's about it right now.
Isn't it funny that with this whole ASU story going on, and as I keep reading updates on it, it makes me want to buy the jersey even more for some reason.
That's weird, Daniel.
I don't know why. I don't know. It's
good for you for wanting to keep this franchise alive. Maybe
I just want to help them, or there's something about it being uncool that it's cool, if that makes sense.
I mean, it'd be cooler if they were in Quebec. Don't mind me. I'll settle for Houston at this point.
And not just the weather.
What?
When you said it'd be cooler in Quebec.
Oh my God. Okay, well that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Okay, I didn't even mean to finish off like this. Let's talk about the Leafs and how everything is falling apart, shall we? Okay, first off, the Leafs apparently, this is per 32 Thoughts headlines. They're working on moving Nick Ritchie, and apparently nothing imminent, but there has been traction the last couple of days. Who was interested? Who?
Arizona,
I wouldn't
Buffalo,
be surprised.
Ottawa. Just seems like.
Oh yeah.
But actually, it can't be Ottawa because technically he makes more money than his cap hit next year, so that automatically removes Ottawa.
Just pulling on my heartstrings. This whole situation.
You know,
To be
it is
honest.
unfortunate that it worked out. I didn't work out. Sorry,
It didn't work out. Yeah.
But it's funny. That's the only one we're talking about of like the 5 or 6 moves Dubas made in the offseason. Yep.
Here's the thing. I'm telling you.
Only the bad one.
What's the thing? If one stays, one leaves in free agency, one gets waived, one gets traded. Richie's going to get scratched, waived, traded, and leave in the same season somehow.
Yep.
He had everything together in one. Because who else was it? Bunting's working out.
Bunting's working out.
Kasha's great.
Kasha's great. Kampf has been good.
Biega's been solid.
No, he hasn't.
Mrazek's. I'm not 100% on Mrazek yet.
He'll
but
be gone in the off season.
Josh Hosang's an Olympian. Wow, who would expect to get that in free agency?
Shout out Sean Farrell. He's killing it, by the way. Had a 5.9. Let's go.
I feel like I'm missing a name here.
David Kampf.
No, I said
mentioned-
Kampf.
David Kampf.
David Kampf was
You mentioned
good.
the notable ones. Maybe you're forgetting one guy, but those are all the big ones.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Who's that center that like Adam?
Brett
like
Senning. Brett Senning.
There you go.
No, I think it's unfortunate that it didn't work out, but I think it's also important to mention that like the majority of them have worked out.
Yeah, it happens.
Austin's been good.
Like for every OG Anunoby, there's also a Bruno Caboclo.
Yeah, that's sure.
You know how
I get that
told
reference
you-
barely.
You know how I told you my ribs have been hurting since I fell on the stairs?
Yeah.
I just muted my mic to cough and my lungs are killing me. Or
Oh no.
maybe it's the
Oh my
ribs. No, it's the
goodness.
ribs, but it hurts.
Oh,
I need
no.
to cough again and it hurts.
We're on Health Watch right now with Adam,
We are.
live on the air.
I'm gonna croak on air and the value of the podcast is gonna go up like I'm a painter or something. I don't know. For love of God, after I go, make sure Carey retires a Hab. That's all I want. Anyway, I'm looking about the game. Okay. I saw people get really
Which
upset in that Calgary game about a lot of things.
That's-
But no, hold on. Pierre Engvall got away very, very quietly because he's the one who threw that suicide pass to Andre Kasha. People aren't talking about that enough, but that was on him. That was a dumb pass to make. Especially,
Sure,
Nikita Zadorov is good at one thing, and that's
Yeah.
bacon. Let's go. We're winning. I remember the last time they had a lead. Let's go. Was that Ryan Paling? I don't even know. Or was it Armia?
I remember I had a friend in high school that he used to get mad at me because every time he talked about the Leafs, he said "we," and I always make the same joke over again because he kept saying. He even said like because he was Italian too. He even said like "oh we," like for Italy or even for Juventus "we."
Yeah.
And then I remember when he's like, "Yeah, we had a solid night last night, the Leafs," and I'm like, "What do you mean we? I didn't see a quarterback in the power play last night."
I know. I try to not say that. I'm not successful at it, but
It was Joel Armia.
good.
He's doing it. But no.
What about the
Engvall
Leafs?
should be disgusted by himself.
So, did you guys think what did you guys think about the hit?
It's always weird with tall guys. You know what I mean? Like with Tyler Myers, I know like some of it's not inexcusable, but with like Nikita Zadorov, I don't know. Kasha, like people are like, oh, he was hunched over. He wasn't hunched over, and he didn't have his head completely down.
You know what I think is, like, listen, this is my opinion on hits, even if you don't mean to hit the head and you, like, for example, if there's head contact made, give it one game. Give him one game because tall players need to learn to adjust. Mort Seiler, did you guys see the hit he threw the other day?
Yeah.
It was clean to the chest. Okay? Just because you're tall doesn't mean you have your own set of rules. Okay? I'm not over Tyler Myers, I'm pretty sure, concussing Joel Armia last year. Not over it, and there was no call. I think he like gave Evans a head injury too. Tall players need to freaking learn the boundaries of hitting. Should have been like a major or something. No. Could you give him a penalty maybe for if there's contact in the head? Yeah, but I don't know if you can give that multiple game. I don't know if Zadorov's a repeat offender. I feel like he is because of the hits he threw for those, but I don't think there was malicious or anything in that scenario. And you've got the guy lined up perfectly. What's Zadorov going to do? Poke him? No. It's just head contact. I say you always give at least one game, but that was Zadorov's game. I can't get upset with that.
No, I thought it was actually like teetering the line. I thought it was like just on the line in terms of dirty and clean. Like, I don't know. I wasn't sure. I'm still not sure like what I think about that hit.
Remember Bufflin? Remember when Bufflin like his hit on Mark Stone? That was completely clean. Bufflin's a big dude.
He is a big dude.
Bufflin knows how to do it. Be like Bufflin.
Sure. Yeah. No, 100%.
Oh, Caulfield just came back to stop a good scoring chance. Give him the selfie. What a great player is Cole Caulfield. Who's Tom Ducharme? What a loser.
I love to see Adam happy again about the Habs.
I know.
It's actually a joy to watch and listen to.
Yeah, because you know what? It's just they're actually... I don't remember the last time they were... Honestly, I don't remember the last time they were leading a game. I can't remember.
I think Alex is getting upset, though, because we explained, what, a 10, 15-minute segment on Nick Ritchie?
I'm not upset. Who said I was upset? Don't put words in my mouth.
For anyone listening for the Leafs, you need to realize that by the end of April, we're not going to talk about the Habs because they're not going to be around.
Wait. That's not even a discussion. Daniel put my words in my mouth over here.
We're about to talk about the Leafs a good deal here because there's a goaltending controversy.
There's not a goaltending controversy. This is the radical Leafs media at it again. And Adam's now part of it. Someone call Mike. Radical Leafs media at it again.
H. Thompson just tied the game.
Oh, speaking of big guys.
I think it's just Mrazek's been kind of bad all year.
No.
Campbell's cooling down.
Mrazek's last few games have been, his numbers have been okay.
Okay.
He's getting there.
Fine. Okay, let's say this. He had a rough game last night. I think a rough game. You got outdueled by Demko, but most guys do.
Well, I mean, the game was over at 3-2, so it doesn't really matter. It's a 3-2 league.
Okay,
so.
Mark Spector. Anyway, I think what it is Campbell's he's maybe getting a little tired. His numbers are going down again, people got to remember, it's Campbell's first full year. I haven't looked at his games played compared to previous years as it stands right now, but I imagine he's starting to get to that plateau.
He's already past it.
He's already doubled it, kind of, right? Or
in a single season?
He's played 33 games this year. In 2018-19, he played 31. That was his most.
Oh.
He took a while to get to the NHL.
So, yeah, he did. 28 years old. Isn't it fun? Like, Ville Husso is a starter now, and he's only like 27. He looks 10, though. It's hilarious. It's weird, man. Ville Husso, he hasn't aged since his draft year. It's hilarious.
Fun fact, that was a Leafs draft pick.
Okay, Daniel, I wasn't going to say that, but...
Okay, I'm sorry. No, they traded it with Carl Gunnarsson for Roman Polak.
Okay. Roman Polak. That's an underrated one. People don't talk about that trade enough. That's a long one. Going back to the Calgary game, though, it's just, when I start going back to, like, straight goaltending here is, Mrazek has to play a little more because Campbell needs to rest. And, sure. It didn't help that Mrazek was glass for the first half of the year.
Yeah.
Which is, the risk you run with Mrazek, but he's just he has to play more. He has to play more because they need Campbell fresh for the playoffs. It's that simple.
It really is. Like, it's pretty much down to that.
Avoid the Frederick Anderson scenario, basically, with this. And I think, Peter Mrazek, he's a guy, like, when he gets in, he can get hot. It's just he needs to play a lot more than what they're doing with the back-to-backs.
This ain't like 2018 anymore.
No.
We need the balance of the goalies. And, listen, one goalie in the league, maybe two now, they can play 70 games. And Vasilevsky is not going to be able to do that forever because he's getting a lot of games under his belt nowadays with the deep playoff runs that Tampa are taking. Hellebuck's is normally out of gas by the time the playoffs eventually come around. Still good, but there's still a bit of maybe a few more dollars. Well, a significant amount of dollars because gas prices are insane right now. Because Alex is like, yeah, I gotta go to Guelph. Whole thing. But goaltending controversy. Jack Campbell doesn't get a Saturday night game versus a fellow Canadian team. I'm surprised people weren't complaining that not Jim Houston, that never mind. I was gonna make a commentary joke, but I can't do it. My ribs hurt too much.
Craig Simpson?
Sorry?
Craig Simpson?
Not Craig Simpson, no.
Jim
I
Houston.
can't remember his name at this very second. Not Jim Houston either, no. I want to go to the Calgary game for a second here for a very specific reason. It caused a lot of a big situation, a brouhaha on Leafs Twitter, I think it's fair to say.
Oh, that's easy to do.
Playoff standards.
In what respect?
The Calgary Flames are coached by a man who has won a few Stanley Cups and coaches all season like in a sort of playoff mold, a very heavy style with Daryl Sutter. We know that.
Yep.
The Leafs did not have a great game. Maybe a bit of zest in the back half of it, but it wasn't quite. I actually got to watch both games because the Habs are playing afternoon games because great. Oh, but remember when the Habs had to play the Canucks at 11 p.m. and the Leafs got a 7 p.m. matinee? I'm not mad about that. I'm not mad about staying up to 1:30 a.m. watching the game. It's just so great. Yeah, I love sports and hometown hockey for back-to-back days. I'll just say it. Yeah. A lot was made because the Leafs in heavier style games seemed to struggle. And a lot was made towards one Steven Dangle, who the three of us have a great number, have a lot of respect for that man. Should we really be that worried about, Alex, that game especially? Is it worth it having a headache about that game? I think it was a Thursday game against the Calgary Flames. All this. Is it worth dissecting that game to the amount that we might be doing here now? Or do you pass it over? Are Leafs fans justified in worrying about that game? Or are you on the other side of the camp of saying, guys, just chill?
I'm gonna actually give you a third option because it's crazy. I know this might sound radical. This might sound nuts, but both things can be true. It's the regular season. It means nothing. This season for the Leafs, I think we've all come to agreement on this, means nothing. Really does. Like they're a playoff. They should make the playoffs. It means nothing. But what has happened the last 4 years? Good regular season.
Yeah.
Absolute dump truck in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Like, I think people can be worried. I think people have every right to be worried. I'm a little bit worried myself because the playoffs and the regular season are genuinely two different games, right? Like they are. The refs are calling the rule book for 82 games, and then it kind of disappears.
It does.
So again, yes, I think everyone should have a little bit of a right to be concerned about this game.
What about you, Daniel?
I don't know. I think for me, the Calgary game was kind of it was deflating because I think what everyone was saying, the Leafs are off of the high horse now, at least for the winning streak. And Calgary one was kind of deflating, but I think that you're just nitpicking at this point. Because it keeps going that back and forth. It's we don't have skill in the bottom six, or we're we're too heavy. And then we go against a heavy team. And it's hey, why do we not have and I'm going off random here, but why do we have a Wayne Simmons, Nick Ritchie, Kyle Clifford out there kind of thing? And I think,
right?
Yeah. And I think that's just that excuse that there's that the Leafs are not a tough team to play against. And I think that's not true. I think it's just, we don't give enough credit to the fact that the Flames are good again. That happens. Or even for the Canucks game, when we look at that one, and it's not the Jim Benning Canucks anymore. They're a bit more organized now. There's a bit more of a system there now that it's a quality team. So, they didn't lose 6-0. Talking about these were close games. These were hard fought. Well, the Flames game was kind of weird, but The Canucks game, it was close.
And I talk a little bit about Simmons, please. No offense. But if you have Simmons and Richie in the lineup, is that going to get the Flames away from their entire identity? No, it's not. No offense. Wade Simmons going to punch your face. Wade Simmons ain't going to break your lineup. And if he does, then I think, you look at changing a few things. Wayne Simmons of 2022 is the big problem here. Listen, here's the way I look at it, right? If you're going to get annoyed, if you're going to freak out, if you're going to get upset, save it if they lose against Montreal. Save it because that's a bad team. The Arizona loss, you can get upset about that. At some point, this is just a general life thing as I adjust myself on my chair with much pain in my body because my tailbone is very much hurt. Sports are supposed to be an escape. The Canadiens have won one game in 2022, and I'm finding the positives in Marty St. Louis. If you talked to me a week ago, I wasn't so positive. I'm a massive hypocrite, but we're going to choose to ignore that. Just take a breath. Relax. Here's the thing you got to appreciate greatness in its moment, right? Austin Matthews feels like he scores every game. Mitch Marner's been great. And I think sometimes you have to appreciate that in the moment. I know a lot of it doesn't mean anything until we get to the playoffs. Well, here's the thing. If you expect the bad thing to happen, the bad thing's going to happen. You know what I mean? Just breathe. Enjoy that you have an embarrassment of elite talent to watch for 82 games. Because, my goodness, I wish Montreal had half that talent. And if you want to get upset at the playoffs, get upset at the playoffs. Ignore that they just had a 6-game winning streak if you want. Just relax.
I partially
good teams lose to good teams. They just beat Carolina.
I disagree. I understand, but you can freak out about losing Arizona, but the games you are going to dissect every single time when you are an extremely good team should be the teams that are of equal status to you. When they play the Carolina Hurricanes, when they play the New York Rangers, when they play the Colorado Avalanche, those are the teams who you're going to face in the playoffs. If you can't keep up with them in the regular season, what gives you why would you expect them to keep up with them in the playoffs? Because the playoffs is a different game. Like, that's just the reality. I agree with you. Like, everyone just freaking chill out, like calm down. But still, those games should be the ones that we dissect. They could blow a 5-1 lead to Ottawa. I'll be freaking pissed, but I'm not going to dissect that game the same way I would if they get spanked 7-1 to Pittsburgh.
Okay, how about this then? If you're going to freak out, don't freak out against a Western team. Okay, so let's say, okay, fair enough. Measuring against Carolina. You're probably going to have to beat Carolina to get to the Cup final, right?
Sure.
Worry more about games against, listen, no offense. I wouldn't give a damn about a game against the Flames for once, because what I'm worried about, first off, the Flames have to make it. The Flames aren't guaranteed to make the playoffs, right? It's very tight in the West, especially for that conference. Except for the wild card. It's a race right now. The Kings are in it. It's really impressive to watch. Even the teams just outside Vancouver, Edmonton, they can make it. Especially if it's like them and Edmonton make it up to, into the first round in a divisional spot in Battle of Alberta. It's going to be great stuff. They have to get through Vegas and Colorado. St. Louis, Minnesota are in there. Here's the thing. If I'm a Leafs fan, I am worrying much more about Florida right now, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Pittsburgh, because if they had better goaltending, if Pittsburgh had better goaltending, they might have won the Cup last year. They should have beat the Islanders, and we know what the Islanders did to Tampa Bay. Pittsburgh probably should have won the Cup last year if they had a competent goalie. We're looking at that. I worry more about those teams. See, what was this thing again? I think it was, it was an NFL season where it was, I want to say, I don't remember who they were playing, but the Steelers were, if they had won their matchup, they were going to face the Patriots, right? But they were looking too much at the Patriots and not at the team in front of them, and they got humiliated. You need to look and take stuff day by day and look at the thing in front of you as opposed to what's up the road. Because there's no point worrying about a game against Calgary if you can't get past Tampa in the first round, or Florida in the second,
Sure.
or who knows if the thing works out, you got Boston in the first, Carolina or Pittsburgh in the conference finals. I think there's time to worry, and I just personally don't believe a mid-week game against the Calgary Flames is enough to get upset about it. And I wonder if Steve, because Steve represents a lot of Leafs fans, and there's this almost civil war on him that it's just sort of blowing stuff up on Twitter.
It's ridiculous.
Which is very unfair to him. But I just think there's just a thing of, and a lot of it's just me saying to Steve, man, just breathe. You're a good guy. Got a great kid.
He is a great guy.
Steve started the video. Steve started the Calgary video saying, there's no point in going nuclear on this. Then delivered what he said, which I 100% agree with, by the way. And then everyone else went nuclear on it, which is ironic, right? Because half the people there are telling him to calm down, or he literally started the video saying, there's really no point in going nuclear on this, but there is an issue here. And I think his point is extremely valid. That being said, some people's the thing with part of this Twitter fan base, because Twitter does not represent most Leaf fans, to be honest. Like it's just there's more people on Twitter. Like there's more people who are not on Twitter that are probably Leaf fans. Just the reality. The people on Twitter who are fans of this team but do not like Dubas have this expectation that the Toronto Maple Leafs are the Tampa Bay Lightning of last year. Or where they are, that I'm of the belief that is one of the best teams in the Cap era. The way it's put together, the way they made everything work, best team, one of the best teams. That is not going to be replicated. That's not easy to replicate. Just the reality. And as soon as these people get it through their heads, they'll understand. Like Tampa Bay this year is not as good as they were last year. That's just a fact.
It still might be the best team in the league.
Right, which tells you how far ahead they were last year.
It's embarrassing how good they are.
Like they're just, the reality is not every team is going to be like that team. So no, I'm not going to absolutely lose my mind on this. I'm going to be passionate because that's just how I am, but I'm not going to stress over this 24/7. And I suggest many people do the same.
On that note, I think it's fair to end the episode there.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, you have good days. People listening have a good day. What you're going to go do now is you should definitely check out the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to it. Check it out on YouTube so you can watch the video version of the show. See our beautiful faces. My live reaction is the Habs are now tied in the third. Eric Engels is on TV. Love to know what he's saying, probably about trading and whatnot. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. All right. So, Alex, you said the Bengals, right?
I did say the Bengals.
And Buddy said the Rams. Daniel did. Dodger Toffoli said the Rams. How dare he, my dog. We're doing for Gallagher, the Bengals. Voicehead, thank you as always for your fantastic platform for the show. Check out Alex's stuff for the Nighthawks and the blog. Daniel's stuff for CGRU, my YouTube channel. 3 videos this week. You should feel good about that. Never going to happen again, by the way. We'll see you on Wednesday, I think. We'll see what happens, probably. Hockey.
It's fun.